What a man, what a great man. I would probably say a genius, if I ever knew one in the medical field. Owen was not only a great surgeon, he was a remarkable person. He was a philosopher, a teacher, a humanist, and also an artist in his later life, a writer, and he also enjoyed boating and was commodore of the St. Lucia Yacht Club for a number of years. I remember as a young man going to see Owen in his office. There's always a mystique about the man with his nice eyes, very gentle touch, always putting you at ease.
I'm the only son of Owen King. I have 5 sisters, one of whom is now deceased. My father was a mentor to me. I can tell you that what we used to do when I was growing up was he had some land down in Belvedere, Ansmaho, and I always remember every weekend we would go down there. Sometimes it was just he and I, and talk all the way down. While we're there, we talk. He would speak to me about agriculture, about the cows, about the beach, about his plants. We would talk about health. You know, so as a little boy, he kept on. He engaged me in I say life issues. He was a very philosophical man. He had a lot of life wisdom that he wanted to share. In fact, he was a very spiritual man. I remember one time in my later years, we were driving down to the same land, but I was driving then and he was the passenger. And he told me he was very worried about me because he felt that I was not being spiritual enough. I remember that very well. I told him, who told you that I am not? Anyway, so we had a nice conversation about that. But the point is, he was a man that really engaged in that way. He was also a very, he loved sport. He got me involved in sailing. He actually started a yacht club because he felt that the island of St. Lucia deserves, because we have such a great sea, we have great climate, why can't we sail? Why can't our people, and it's our heritage to sail. So he established, with a few of his friends, he established this club, and every Sunday we would go there. And he taught me to sail, sailed with me, and again, the mentorship was there. Later in life, when I became a doctor, again, we had, by this time, now the conversations in terms of health could go to another level because we could now speak as 2 professionals and father and son. And that the mentorship continued.
He taught me quite a bit about not only medicine and the importance of giving things your best shot, but also the question on humility. Very humble man, unassuming, but most of all very dedicated, not only to his patients, but to his staff, his nurses, everybody who worked with him. And he was also a great family man, not only with his siblings, but also his grandchildren. Always had time, and also had a lot of time for his junior colleagues, always willing to teach.
I first met Dr. King as an impressionable 10-year-old at his office in Castries. And I was eager to meet him for whatever reason, because in my mind as a 10-year-old, he appeared to be so sophisticated. He also appeared to be as an individual that you could have trust because of how he conducted himself, his deportment. You know, as a 10-year-old, you look for all those things. If you're going to be my doctor, I must be able to trust you, even as a 10-year-old who's so afraid of things like injections and medication and things of that nature. So when I saw him at the age of 10 and my mother introduced me to him, it was to conduct an operation on my leg, my stunted leg. And my mom gave me the option of either agreeing to have the operation conducted or not. Of course, I was eager to have it done. And so we had the operation at the Victoria Hospital. It was very painful. But then the doctor and his approach was so salutary. You know, just his hands, he had healing hands, as I would like to refer to it. and it was always a pleasure to see him visit me from time to time to see how I was doing, how I was recuperating, and that did a lot in terms of how I, in the end, was able to recover from this operation, which was a major operation on both of my legs then.
It would be remiss of me if I didn't mention that in the 70s, when I came back to St. Lucia as a junior doctor, Owen gave me some good advice. He says, listen, you're working in the districts, but a few basic things you must remember, or you must know. And that I've imparted to a lot of the junior doctors. Your nurses are an integral part of your team. And the experienced nurses who work in the districts, you must rely on them for assistance and help. I don't know if that is still being done by some of the junior doctors now, but it is something I also try to impart to some of my junior colleagues. You know, a remarkable man.
He's a great man and a great father. And what he imparted to me about medicine in particular was that medicine was not a business. Medicine and the art of medicine, the science of medicine, is not about a career. It's a vocation. It's a calling that you have, and you constantly aspire to learn more, acquire more knowledge, do better, because healing people, being part of that healing process with people, is something above and beyond dollars and cents. It's much more than that. And he by his mentorship, taught me that medicine is really about people and doing God's work.
In the late 70s, when I came home, when the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association was founded by Owen King, his brother Derek, all Dr. DeGazon, all ophthalmologists stationed in Jamaica, Malcolm Rigsby, deceased, Dr. Monroe's deceased, Peter St. Rose, the old brigade and Mackie Chase, and yours truly, who was at that time a very junior. And we were trying to get away from the old British established GMC, and we formed our own association. He was always around, always giving advice. And later on, what was also remarkable about this great man, for emphasis I almost said remarkable twice, was that he returned, Stephen, his kids asked him to come back to the Medical and Dental Association, which he headed for a number of years, from the 60s up. In the 80s, he came back. I was his deputy then, you know, and he gave his reasons for coming back. He felt we had a tremendous role to play at that time in terms of administration of health in general. Okay, not only as doctors, but also as people who can make a contribution. Forget we're doctors, but just genuine solutions who are interested in the health of the people. He acted as medical director for a number of years, and he was able to reinvigorate his older colleagues as well as the junior ones. At that time, that's the time government introduced payments for patients seeking attention at the hospital. And we really did a wonderful contribution. I always remember Owen as a man of inspiration, determination, gentle simplicity, but a genius. I think it is most fitting. I cannot comprehend or think of any other St. Lucian who deserves his name attached to our new hospital. It would be a blessing. Sorry to use the word blessing, but I don't think anybody else, any other doctor in St. Lucia. There might be a number of equals, probably only time will tell, but to surpass him, I think, in his contribution, I think it is almost impossible.
You could not find a better person in terms of his legacy, being a general surgeon for 40 years, the selfless manner in which he conducted himself, he executed his duties. I'm sure that Dr. King could have done a number of things, including taking his services then as an outstanding surgeon to any part of the Caribbean, including any part of the world. But something about loving his country caused him to remain on local turf. Also, I think it will serve us in good stead, primarily because a lot of youngsters will be forced to carry out the necessary research to find out who is Dr. Owen King. And I'm sure that will do a world of good for people like myself who have an intimate knowledge of who he is or who he was, and also the younger generation who are coming up. And I could imagine also that we have a cadre of new doctors in St. Lucia, both male and female, of course, would want to know more about Dr. Owen King. And definitely, he's an individual who is not controversial, and therefore I'm sure that you will see the hospital in that particular light. It's all about an institution that is looking after the interest of St. Lucia and the St. Lucians, and not in any way at all would divert your attention onto something else.
The Owen King European Union Hospital. The Owen King name is exceedingly fitting, and I'll say why, for a number of reasons. Let me give you the following points. First of all, as St. Lucians, we must honor ourselves, first and foremost. So we must always look within and see who is great among us in what we are doing, that we can attach that greatness to whatever it is we are doing. That, to me, that is an honoring of the memory of a particular person, a memory of our ancestors. Owen King is that. He's a great surgeon. He came back to St. Lucia in the early 60s, 1962. And he started practicing surgery here. And he revolutionized the practice of surgery. You could speak to any of his patients, and they will talk to you about the nature of this doctor. How when his hand was on you, it was caring. You felt, even before any medicine you felt it. Speak to any of the nurses and they'll tell you the sort of confidence that he inspired. When he walked onto the ward or into the operating room, they knew that everything was going to be all right because somebody was here. That's why the nurses actually, the old nurses would call him Papa. They didn't call him Mr. King, which is the name that they use for surgeons in the UK. Mr., we don't use doctor, but he's a doctor. But anyway, they would not use even that, is Papa. So, I mean, that tells you the sort of confidence and relationship that he had with his colleagues and with the nurses. I remember also him saying, and he's up to just before his death, he was still reading and acquiring medical knowledge. He told me that a great surgeon, and this was his byline to me, a great surgeon knows when not to cut. Now, I found that very interesting because what he's getting at here is that the thoughtful approach to medicine, the scientific approach to medicine, but the human and caring approach to a patient, and that you put your ego back and you put the patient's interest foremost in what you are doing. This is what he was saying. So when we name our hospital after a doctor like that, what we are telling all doctors is that when you work in this institution, this is how you should be inspired. This is what you should aspire to be. You should aspire to be a doctor who is caring, humane, thorough, knowledgeable, current in your knowledge. Right? That is what somebody who knows how to manage a team, work with a team. That is what the Owen King name means. And I can, honestly, I mean, you'd say I'm biased because I'm Owen King's son, but I cannot think of any person better to name this hospital after than Owen King, because he stands for all that is right and proper in the practice of medicine.